All right, now you should be able to hear me, right? What's up, Javni? Let's get Taste on. 1 second here. Cool. So today we're working with DoYouWannaTaste. They are I think they're master level Bison. It's been a minute since I played them, but they're definitely master level Bison. Let me bring up their things talked about. So they're talking about 1500 MR Bison, work on closing out rounds, and getting out of the corner, right? So pretty common, I think, for Bison players. Really explosive offense, but then get stuck in the corner, and that's kind of it, right? You have to deal with that. So let's bring them on. Give me a sec here. Hey, Taste.
Hello, hello.
Been a minute, man. How you been?
I'm pretty good.
Cool, man. Cool. So yeah, I was just looking at what you had posted in the channel, and I think you were looking at closing out rounds, trying to get out of the corner, right? So improving corner defense, I think is on your list.
Yes.
Cool, 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 cool. All right. So I know it's been a minute. Have you gotten to play a little bit between, or is it just gonna jump in cold?
I warmed up a little bit earlier today,
Gotcha,
but
gotcha,
we'll
gotcha.
see how that goes.
All right, for sure. All right, so just for the stream, let everyone know. What we're gonna do is we'll run a first to three, and we'll kind of see where you're at. We'll do a little replay review. So I'll take a couple of games, do a little replay review, point out what might be happening and how we can kind of address some of the concerns you have. If there are particular situations you want to lab out, we'll hop into the lab to work through that. Then we'll do a second first to three. I'll run it back afterwards to kind of see if any of those things help or not help against me. Right? Does that
All
sound good
right.
to you?
Yep, sounds all good.
Cool. Let me get you invited to the room here. All right. All right. So invite sent, go ahead and queue up. While you're doing that, I'll just say that I'm gonna deafen during our first to three. I tend to talk a lot during these, right? So trying to influence anything you're doing. I also may not
Gotcha.
rematch right away, so there might be the 10-ish seconds or so while I'm kind of articulating thoughts or whatever, and making sure that I'm capturing what I'm seeing, right? So, all right, man. Good luck.
Good luck.
All right, so Taste is a pretty good Bison. I played them a good amount before. I guess they've been on a little bit of a break, but they're finally back into it. But yeah, we'll see. They were playing Marissa before, and I think Bison's probably clicking with them a little more. So we'll see what's up. They were mentioning closing out rounds and corner defense. So oh, nice whiff punish. All right, let's see where they're at. Oh, nice. Whoa. That was probably supposed to be D-Rev, would be my guess on that one. But, it is what it is. No, I didn't trade. Ooh. Oh, walk up throw. That was sick. Oh, they're better. Let's turn on the offense a little bit. Oh, what a whiff punish. Oh, I couldn't back up out of that? Sick. So, what I'm noticing is that they're just kind of walking forward, right? No fear, which is kind of cool. I think that where they're kind of lacking right now is just kind of holding down back. So far, they haven't really made any defensive decisions. I mean, they've just been kind of blocking and or delay teching. I don't know if they are doing any other option behind that. So we'll see if we can test that. Just delay tech again. They're doing a really good job punishing the crouching medium kill. Oh, as I say that, right? Okay, so not delay buttoning. So they must be delay teching or just blocking. Oh. Yeah, they're definitely delay teching. Okay. So, what I kind of want to see out of this is, like, maybe either wake up reversals, like some sort of D-rev might be good. Oh, they're not teching anymore. So walk up jab. Well, the stand heavy punch conversions are sick. Okay, backing up after pressure. Just walk up throw. It's so sick. No anti-air. Oh, come on, dude. I'm dead, right? Man, I had that. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Stand like kick conversion to the heavy DP super should have been that right there on the counter hit, but I missed it. Oh, parry 3 times in a row? Yeah. So I feel like their defensive options right now are kind of just limited to blocking and delay teching, which is kind of allowing me to get away with a lot, right? When they're in the corner. Since they're not making any defensive decisions, I'm kind of just doing whatever I want, right? Oh. So if I play at this range, see what happens. Trying to do a crusher maybe? So their spacing is actually not bad. It's just that I think when they try to walk up jab, they may be overcommitting a little bit. Yeah. So this is a scenario where I think delay teching is really the fact that I'm noticing his delay teching and he's not making adjustments to that is what's making it difficult for him in the corner right now. And then some of the anti-air stuff too, right? Finally got a reversal out of him. Should have done that way sooner, but that was very good. Oh, I didn't get my Jin right. Oh, just... Oh, what a parry. Not sure about spending bar there, but I guess that's fine. Whoa! Perfect parry, too far for a throw, huh? That was a medium, though. I probably should have been able to do like a stand medium punch or crouch medium punch. Yeah, so... Yeah, I think that's really just the rotation of defensive options there is what got them. They were delay teching a lot, right? And once I started shimmying, they didn't really adjust to that, so... Let's bring it back on. Let's talk about it. Hey, buddy. How'd that go?
Got a little washed, but it's all right.
Well, how'd you feel during? Like, well, walk me through what was kind of going through your head. So there's some of those games. What do you think?
Let's say first, the corner was, a little rough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But outside of that, in neutral, I was trying not to rely on scissor kicks too much. I didn't really do it much,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe I should have used it a little more.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Condition me a little bit.
I think that there were some situations where you probably could have got away with scissor kicks. Like, you were spaced pretty well for the most part. You had some really strong whiff punishes with the stand heavy punch around the crouch medium kicks, which I thought was pretty good. And yeah, the corner I think might be where you were struggling. Well, not might be. I think it's definitely where you're struggling. Anyway, I'm streaming live in Discord right now, so let me know if you can see that, or if you're on your phone or whatever. But I'm gonna be using Discord to stream my screen so we can talk about the replay.
Okay. I am on my phone. Let's see. Where can I see that on here?
Yeah, I think on mobile, there's like an option to view the screen. I think when you're on VC. Let me see here. I don't know if anyone in chat knows. That'd be good.
If we're not gonna, I can just grab my laptop real quick.
Sure.
And hop on there.
If that's easier for you.
Yeah, that might be a little easier.
All right, no worries. Yeah, no problem, no problem. All right, well, Taste is doing that, so hope y'all doing well tonight. Happy Lunar New Year to folks who celebrate that, if anyone in chat celebrates that. A lot of fireworks happening in my area, so my area has a lot of very large Vietnamese population, so really good food, and they love partying, and it's going to be like that. It's probably going to be fireworks going on. Started yesterday, probably through the rest of today, probably into tomorrow and the weekend. Wouldn't be surprised. It's always a good time for that. So I guess while we're waiting, keep things interesting. When I was growing up in high school in the area, as I grew up in this area too, during this time, it was always kind of cool to hang out with my Asian friends, right? I'm actually Filipino, so I don't celebrate Lunar New Year the same way. But it was always kind of cool to head to their houses and hang out with them, during the weekend when it was like, after the holiday or whatever. Or if it was during the weekend and I was invited to hang out with them, it'd be kind of cool to meet all of the the aunties and uncles and gamble with them and all that. One of my favorite games, and it's pure luck or whatever, but they had this it's like this mat with like 6 different elements. It's like one's a crab and there's some other pieces, right? And it's 6 sides of a die, right? And the way it worked was that the dealer, quote unquote, the banker or whatever, they would have like 3 of these dice, right? There's like special 6-sided dice that have these characters on them. And what you would do is you would bet, money, whatever, on any of the items, and if they rolled the dice, and if the dice showed up with that value or whatever, then you get paid out. And it was kind of cool because there was 3 dice, right? So if you bet on like the crab, which is the only thing I remember, and 3 crabs showed up, whatever you bet there would be paid out triple, right? So it was a lot of fun growing up as a kid playing. We were playing for dollar bills or whatever because that's what the aunties gave us, even though they're handing out the red envelopes for like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But it was kind of cool to hang out with them. So anyway, so a taster. Let me know when you can see my screen, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, I can see it.
Cool. All right, so this was game 1. So again, I think you had some pretty decent spacing, good patience at the beginning there. You whiff punished my crouching medium kick a good amount, so that was good. But let's take a look at what happens here and see if we can dissect what's happening. All right. Honest footsies here. All right. So that was sick.
I have a hard time. So, like, that's another thing is the stand heavy kick. I couldn't figure out like what to do after I blocked that. Like,
yeah, that can be
because I know
tough.
you're minus, but
yeah, Ken's actually -5 here. Let's see. Right. But that spacing, so right here is when you can press. Right. Yeah. So this makes it a little tough, right? When it's this space. I don't know what Bison's 5 frame is, but it's hard to punish this when it's spaced properly.
Yeah.
So
I'm just talking about like the situation. Yeah. Like I don't even know if my crouch medium kick will even reach from there to like take some of your drive gauge or anything.
Yeah, it's a pretty common space trap with Ken here. If Ken lands that stand heavy kick at the tip of its range, and then I go into like a stand heavy punch right after, like I don't even need to really confirm anything. But if you press there, it's a space trap, right? If it's spaced well. Now, if I do this point blank, right, then I'm gonna eat a punish, right? So when I'll say this in general, when Ken is doing this to you in neutral, like just doing stand heavy kick, if you want to make the YOLO read, would be a DI here, right? Because this is not a cancelable. So you can DI through this, right? And Ken will, if you predict it, right, like any other non-cancelable long-reaching normal, if you predict it and go for DI here, you would beat me, right? Alternatively, what you can do is if you think I'm going to go for this button, you can walk forward, right? So from right here, right here it's tough
just
because
walk up block.
Yeah, just walk up block, right? The idea is to mess with my sense of your rhythm so that when I press this, right, you're not in the right spot anymore. So if you look at this, right, I have to kind of space this, right? I have to get a sense of how you want to move back and forth, right? So as you're moving kind of like this, I have to get a sense of when you're going to try to move into my range or when you're walking out of it, right? But the point is when you're moving, and then I have to kind of line myself up to be the right spot to press this hand heavy kick, right? Because if I whiff, right, it's a huge recovery, right? If I whiff, Bison can punish pretty easily, right? Right. And if I'm too close, right, you would be able to get a 5 frame punish, right? So like right there, I kind of get a sense of when you're trying to move and then try to press when you're moving into a spot that makes that work, right? So if you wanted to talk about like the quote-unquote safe way to disrupt this, you kind of have to move into the range, like either move into it or out of it at a different pacing, I guess, if that makes sense, right? Like try to get me to press that button at a different time, basically, right? Easier said than done. That's a very hard thing to do, to get someone to whiff like that, especially when we're both trying to do this to each other, right? So but yeah, typically if a Ken is abusing this, then you can just DI them, right? They'll stop pressing this. So like any other, cancelable, long range, non-cancelable move, right? You can just DI it. So
gotcha.
Okay, there's fireball there. Right. So you saw that, right? Like you tried to you took your turn back with the crouching medium punch. Right? A little bit late, but that's okay. Wait, hold on, that was wrong. Here, right? You kind of walk up and press here, right? Because my turn is over, right? I can't really press anything, and there's a little bit of time gap in between, but I think this was fine, right? Trying to get back, because I could have tried to move forward here, or whatever, but I think this was fine, right? As a response, and then I get whiff punished by the space trap, right? So the conversion.
That's actually a bad conversion.
Well, you landed it. Is the point.
I should have got.
But you probably could have got a little more, right?
Yeah, I could have got back. I could have got heavy bomb there,
Yeah,
and I didn't. So
but it's okay, right? I don't, I'm not gonna worry too much about that. You know when your combos aren't where they need to be, so it's all good, I think. So you have advantage here, right? Let's see what you do with it. Right, so I kind of parry through it, right? And then here we're just kind of playing footsies, right? So, okay, so here's where the first, yeah, the first corner defense goes, right? Let's see what happens. All right, so drive rush plus frames, and you get thrown here. So it looks like you elected to, let's see. All right, so you went for a parry, looks like, potentially. Didn't come out, which is fine, right? If it was a delayed parry or something like that, or the drive rush ate it initially, it's fine. If the parry comes out late, that's also okay, technically, right? Because if I went for a throw here, you wouldn't have gotten punished counter throw, right? So I think this was fine. So you continue just blocking. You actually start walking back, right? So interestingly, you're blocking. You block stun, and then you start blocking high for some reason. Are you just holding back?
yeah,
For kicks?
yeah,
Or?
it was just sloppy.
Okay.
It's just sloppy there.
Yeah, I will say that when you're already in the corner, since there's nowhere to go, right, no need to let go of that. Unless you think I'm going to go overhead, but Ken doesn't have one. But if there are other characters that, you're trying to defend an overhead from, that makes sense. Ken doesn't have one, so you don't need to worry about it there. And then you get thrown here, right? So you just kind of take the throw, which is fine. All right. Dash up. Right, so Ken is +1 here, right? So you have to guess. They like to block, right? You also don't do any defensive option, right? So you just kind of continue blocking, right? Which is fine. Still early in the game, not quite sure what to do, what to do against me, right? You don't know how my offense is going, so I'm just kind of pressing buttons here, try to get in a sense of what you want to do on defense. And my sense was that you were just wanting to block for the most part, right? So, and then you're able to get out, right? So you catch me walking back with the immediate crouching medium kick there, or I don't know if it was immediate, but as soon as you, it was pretty close, a couple frames, right? As soon as you thought I was going to move back, you clipped me trying to press my button, right? So it was good. So that was better as a conversion.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. Cool. And then pressure my face.
I tried to throw you there, but for some reason that came out. I don't know why that came out.
It's all good. That happens, man. Street Fighter 6. You're going to see me, I don't know if it was this game or whatever, but you see me drop a game winner too, so it's all good.
Yeah.
All right, so now you have me in the corner, right? So plus frames. I just delay tech. Right? Now I'm just blocking. And then I get hit trying to jab out, right? And then here what happens is I go for an immediate, pretty immediate crouching medium kick, and you were kind of too close, right? So you went for a stand heavy punch, and it was a little too close, right? So
yeah, after I hit that jab, I could have killed, but
yeah,
I had to drive punch, but I didn't for some reason. I hit jab twice and then just walked back. I don't know.
Yeah, that it is what it is. I mean, I know knocking some rust off, and that's all good. But yeah, right here. After this counter hit, right? That's a win, right? That's a dub. So
yeah,
like you should be able to close that out. So that's just a counter hit confirm. I'm not sure what Bison's counter hit confirm like string is, but I'm sure you could go into level 1 from whatever combo from there, right? Because you're +6 here. So I think you get crouching medium punch, right? And then from there it's just scissors into level 1 or something. Like you could kill me from here is the point. So so you talked about closing out games. I think this is probably one situation where that makes sense to kind of work through, is that these kind of counter hit confirms in the corner. I mean, you need to start looking at that more. So, that's just lab work though, thankfully. And then you kind of get clipped, right? Trying to press, side switch in the corner. I have to deal with my mix up here. All right, so I go to step kick, right? Tough for Bison to punish kind of at that range, right? I'm not sure what his 4-frame is. I might space this a little bit. I think this might be a little too close. But just remember that step kick is +4, right? It was Ken's -4 here, so. Right. And then again, I think you were trying to jab or press something and it didn't come out and you kind of get clipped. I go for DI. I'm assuming this was supposed to be a D-Rev, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I said that on stream, so I was probably supposed to be D-Rev, but It's all good. That happens. Just make sure. I think you want to hold forward, just forward. I don't think down forward works. I think it has to be just forward.
No.
Yeah. All right, and then you still take the throw again here, right? So, corner defense wise, it's tough to kind of deal with what I'm doing here because it's just pure strike throw for the most part. It's not really a lot of gimmicks, right? So, like everything I'm doing is basically you have to guess if you should delay tech or not for the most part, right? And that can make it tough. Like you were doing an okay job at the beginning. I was not going for throw as much, or you were taking the throw rather. So I think here at some point you make an adjustment, start delay teching. So, which is good, right? I guess that's what you're supposed to do. But the issue happens that you don't stop delay teching, right?
Yeah.
So
once I start, I just do it on reflex, and that's not where you want to be.
Yeah, it's like, man, I don't want to get thrown anymore, but instead again, take a 6,000 damage combo, right? So, okay. So here you start. Now you start teching, right? So this is good, right? This is a good initial response to me trying to throw you a lot, right? So now what you have to be thinking about is what the next step is, right? So what's going to happen if Juzzy continues to try to throw me, right? So I'm teching right now. What would he do to try to beat the tech, right? Or delay tech? And naturally the answer is typically shimmy, right? So I start doing that. And then you have to try to change your defensive option to match whatever I'm doing on offense, right? So get a cool conversion there because Bison's stuck in a free fall state or whatever it's called, free juggle state, force knockdown. All right, so I think what happens here is that you start doing one of two options, right? You started either trying to wake up parry or delay tech, right? So you're kind of doing a hard read against the strike, right? Which in that case right there, I don't fault you for that. Ken's coming at you, right? Normally he'll throw a stand heavy punch here, which you would have got a perfect parry if had that got off, right? Instead I like for a driver's throw to kind of see what you want to do here, and you went for parry, right? So it's unfortunate. But the other half of this is that I'm trying to get you to tech more, right? So I'm still kind of being stubborn in choosing throw so that you'd be more incentivized to try to delay tech later, right? So that's part of the conditioning aspect. That said, though, I don't mind this defensive decision overall because, again, most people in that situation will try to go for some sort of strike, like meaty strike option to try to get you in a mix-up. So I don't mind this at all, but I think you have to be kind of mindful of what options I'm choosing at a drive rush, right? And sometimes you have to just guess.
I think I started doing that, like you were saying, rotating defensive options, but I did it too quickly. I tried to do it before you showed me you would do something. Like I was like, oh, I started delay taking, now he's gonna do this. I didn't have the patience to stick with my option until I actually needed to start rotating it.
Yeah. And part of that, like, again, I don't mind it too much because, you're trying to be ready for the next interaction. But what I kind of want to bring up here is that in this situation right here, right? So right as the drive rush goes off, people will tend to consider, or at least I think people should be considering what options Ken can do out of this, right? Or what options your opponent can do out of this. So for Ken in particular, the best quote unquote options would typically be either a drive rush stand heavy punch, right? To try to get plus frames, +2, right? On your wake up. Or more if I time it up correctly and it ends up being meaty. At worst, it'd be +2 if you just block. A drive rush jab, right? Which would generate a +3 situation and a sort of strike throw mix, right? And by that, I mean, you're +3 enough, so it's more of a tick throw, right? So I could go for a throw there, I could go for a shimmy there, I could go for more buttons, right? So you have to guess against that. Or I can go for a throw, right? So those are kind of the main options that Kens tend to go for out of this. And I'm just trying to generalize like what an opponent could do, right? So if I just take, those are like the three sort of easier options, right? Some sort of big heavy button with to get plus frames, right? Some sort of lighter button to force some sort of tick throw situation, right? A +2 or better situation. Point blank, right? Because jabs tend to leave you point blank, whereas stand heavy punch for Ken will leave you kind of far away. Or a throw, right? So when you consider it like that and kind of reduce down your options to like, oh, it's going to be one of these three things, and you kind of try to pick a defensive option, that's why I think parry wasn't a bad decision, right? Because it beats 2 out of the 3 things that I would potentially do, right? So that's why I don't think it's bad necessarily. Now, of course, I picked the one option you weren't ready for, or you were okay with losing to. And that's started Street Fighter 6, right? But
Yeah.
I think like typically these type of Oki situations where you're trying to defend, that's the kind of the way you want to try to think about it, right? Now, of course, this is happening very, very quickly, right? And all of that, and some of it's just you have to play more and experience and all of that kind of factor into this. But that's kind of how I think you should be structuring defense, generally speaking, right? Pick the options that you are most likely from your opponent based on what you're seeing, and then pick a set of options that you want to try to defend. Alternatively, pick the option that you're okay losing to. In this case, it was a throw, right? Because you're like, okay, if I'm going to parry, that means I'm going to lose the throw. And then try to defend against everything else you possibly can, right? So in this case, it is kind of, that drive rush was basically pure strike throw, right? At least the way that I'm presenting it here. It was either going to hit you immediately with a button or throw you, right? Potentially shimmy, right? But it's kind of hard to do in that situation. I was kind of close. And if you're reading shimmy, that's a different thing. But if we distill it down to just those options, and you're like, okay, well, I'm okay losing the throw. How can I beat the other two options as best I can, right? Or how can I cover them as best I can? And that's why I think parry was an okay thing there, right? So was it too soon to do that? I don't think so. It's just that when I run offense, I'm trying to think of the alternative, like the opposite of what you're trying to think of, right? So on defense, you're thinking like, okay, what can I defend against? What am I okay losing to? And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, what do I think they're okay losing to? And I'm going to do that option. Right? And I don't know if that's just me, like a juzzy way to run offense. I don't know if everyone really thinks that way, but that's what I'm thinking when I'm playing, right, in this scenario.
Yeah,
right.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So that's kind of why I think, like, again, your decision to parry there was totally fine and justified, right? So
I think I need to start thinking about defense the same way, because I think about offense the same way, right? But I think I just don't put as much brain power into defense, and I just pick the option that beats the most things, like in general. So I think being more thoughtful during those defensive situations is something I need to do.
Yeah, and it's kind of how you get to the next step, right? So like your offense is super good, right? Obviously you can run an offense, and when you cornered me in a couple of situations, you basically had me, right? It wasn't like I wasn't winning by a ton necessarily, at least in the beginning, right? And a lot of times, and the way it was scoring towards the end was the only reason I was really winning more was because I was kind of beating you in those defensive situations, right? Was I winning more interactions in neutral? Not necessarily, but I was definitely winning more Oki situations, right? So anyway, through here, right, it's just straight up corner pressure, right? So you get the driver's throw, the walk up stand, heavy punch, you block, right? You don't bite on the shimmy, right? So you're not teching. So in my head, I'm like, okay, they're not teching now. So either they're going to block or they're trying to use a button at some point. So I kind of just delay a little bit and press the button.
For some reason, I stand up again.
Yeah, like, back up.
That happened like 4 or 5 times this game.
There was a couple, for sure. Where I was like, all right, I'm just going to throw a crouching medium kick here and try to get them to catch them, maybe pressing or something. They just catch you. So I'm like, okay, well, take the free damage, right?
Yeah.
So I apply some jab pressure here. And I think you go for a jab here. So you're able to counter hit me there, which was good, right? Totally fine. And then he counter hit me again as I press after getting hit by the jab. Unfortunately, no confirm there, right? You can confirm off the stand heavy punch, right? So
yeah,
no big deal. It is what it is. But I will say that going for a option like this is a pretty big bet, right?
Yeah.
It worked out, and that's fine. But in this situation here, I feel like it's a little too close to try to press that. So obviously you're plus here. So if you pressed it, I think it would have been okay, maybe. Like you would have been, what, 14? You would have got beat by 14 frame if I elected to press here. So I don't press, right?
Lose to any button.
Pretty much, yeah. So I don't press here because I know I'm minus, right? So I don't press. And then you go for this, right? So I think it's, in that scenario, the way that it played out was probably okay. You're kind of banking on me, the player, on your opponent, knowing not to press there, right? But when you go into ranked, people will press there, right? People will do whatever, absolutely, right? So until you establish that the player you're playing against knows this situation or scenario, this is kind of risky, right? So you lose to me, immediately crouch your medium kick, right, and you die, right? So I would just cash out into level 3, right? So again, good read on me, but just be careful later on, right? So need to confirm there, no big deal, right? Good scissor kicks. Right. So you got Blom on me. Go through the fireball. That was sick.
I should have went for bomb there. That's
Yeah,
should
I
have been
I
a
don't
level
hate the
1.
decision to level 1 here, but heavy bomb might have been a better option because
It's much better Oki
yeah,
situation.
right. So there'd be a bomb plant here. I'd probably be about here life wise, and then you still have Oki and plus frames, right? You'd be able to basically level 1 or level 2 next interaction and kill me, right? And preserve some of your meter. So you go for this, which again is fine, right? You get the damage guaranteed. And I'm still, a mix up away from death, right? Like you could probably kill me with level 2 from here. 1 or 2 straight hits plus a cash out, something like that. So yeah, I don't hate it, but the Oki situation trying to get a better Oki situation might have dictated you go for a heavy bomb instead. So just a routing thing. Again, I don't hate the usage of meter here. You got your damage, you're in a good spot, have me in the corner, but your offense kind of stops here, right? Like you could drive rush in potentially, to force something, but you don't have the free. Well, I don't call it free, but you don't have the same Oki setup, right? So
Right.
you're kind of betting it all now and then trying to win another neutral interaction, versus taking a little bit less damage and trying to win an Oki situation, right? So I think like in the grand scheme of things, if you're losing more neutral interactions than you're winning, and you notice that, I would have went for the Oki setup instead, right? Now, if it's the other way around, and you've been winning more neutral interactions, then I think this is fine, right? Because an Oki situation is a guess for you too, right? So even though you're heavily incentivized, like to go for it and play offense and all that, I could just as easily wake up level 3 you, right? Right?
Yeah,
Or
and
something
that's
like that.
something that you never DP'd and you never woke up super. I was so shocked. I
Yeah,
was
and
I
I'll
was
explain why
flabbergasted.
that. I think I had a good reason why, but we'll talk about it if there's a situation where I should have and didn't. But I felt like I didn't need to for the most part because a lot of times you backed up, right? So we'll
Yeah.
see it through here. But essentially you were kind of hedging against the wake up level 3 or wake up option for me, so I just didn't do it, right? So I noticed in a few interneutral interactions or a few Oki situations, you didn't really go for any sort of big pressure, right? So here, obviously, you can't because you took the super, unless you drive rushed, right? In which case, I might have reversaled there. But you took a safer route here. Which, again, if you've been winning neutral interactions and you know you can beat your opponent in that state of the game, then this makes sense, right? You have a life lead, you have the corner, you can control all the space in the world here. Like, all the space is yours. I have no space to work with. All you have to do is anti-air me and keep me in the corner, and you'll probably win, right? If that's how you wanted to take this game. So again, it's kind of a feel thing. I think you may not have been winning as many neutral interactions here, so it kind of would have made sense to go for the Oki setup, right? So land a hit, walk up throw. So this was sick, by the way. Like, like you do this to me like 3 or 4 times, just like walk up throw. So that's really good though. Good recognition on your part that I'm being a little passive here in neutral, right? I'm kind of expecting you to walk back. And you're walking way more into range than I'm ready for, and I wasn't ready to push button, right? So I make an adjustment to that later on, but not right here, right? See, if you look at the last 2 interactions here, back up, right? And then here, back up again, right? So
Yeah.
you've decided to kind of forego any sort of meaty pressure or pressure in general here the last 3 times. So in my head now, I'm thinking, okay, they're looking for reversal, so I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I was absolutely looking for a reversal.
Yeah, right. So that's why that happens, right? So if you had been going for more pressure in those situations, then I might have reversaled, right? Because the life situation might have dictated
Yeah,
that.
but I've got to show it first.
Yeah, you gotta make me want a reversal. Yeah. So, and then you beat me just like that, right? So it worked out for you, right? You were able to keep me in the corner locked out. You didn't have to force any Oki scenario or situation, and you're able to beat me in the corner, right? So totally fine. And it's a decision you have to make during the game if you want to play that way to win it, right? So it's a lower risk way, but it relies heavily on your ability to execute, right?
Yeah.
Versus Oki, where you're kind of just rolling the dice, if you will, right? Obviously, the deck is stacked in your favor because you're on offense, but you are guessing, if you will, right? So.
And I tried to drive rush there. I don't know what happened.
It didn't come out, I think, right? You just kind of,
Yeah.
you just kind of try to jab.
Just terrible misinput. It was.
It's all good. All right, so now here you're just kind of blocking, right? It looks like you may try to delay tech and you're kind of late, either late on it or didn't quite go when it was supposed to. Oh no, never mind. I guess you're just back rolling, right? So, all right, so you start delay teching here, right? So now I've noticed, right? So this is at this point I'm like, oh, they delay tech again. So now it's time for me to start kind of trying to shimmy, right? So. All right, so now we're playing the situation where I think you have a hard time in general. I think Bison does have kind of a hard time fighting out of the corner, but you do have some great plus buttons and you can drive rush or stuff like that. I am playing at a distance that makes it difficult to do that though, so unfortunately the only advice I can really give you here is to just try to be a little bit more aggressive on the button pushing, right? So, and with caution, right? So like if I'm just trying to dance in and out of your range here, right? What you can do... Right, so this situation here, right? I'm playing a little bit further away because Bison has some good buttons that go there, plus scissor kicks, right? If you decided to let that rip and I'm at a space where it makes sense for you to scissor kick, then I can't punish you for it, right? So I'm kind of standing away from it to try to get you to not use that option, right?
Yeah.
But what you can do here... Sorry, go
ahead. I should have walked up and hit and medium kick a couple times to establish my own spacing a little bit, because I kept trying to walk up and like hit like stand jab, and that was just getting stuck.
Yeah, you have to walk a little too close, and I was just pressing a button, right? But yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Walk up and press your longest reaching normal, right? So stand or fastest, longest reaching normal. I guess you know the balance of it, right? So stand medium kick would probably work pretty well, right? You'd be able to get some of that space back, or at least represent it. And if you walk forward, that's going to elicit a response from me, right? What that response is, I couldn't tell you because I don't remember what's going on in this part of the game. But I'll have to do something, right? If I just stand there, I get hit, right? Or in this case, or a few cases, I stood there and got thrown, right? So I may do something, right? I may walk back. I may walk forward, press a button. I may jump. I may do something, right? The idea is to walk forward and try to see what I do so that the next time you walk forward, you can beat whatever option I may actually do, right? So like if I am standing in and out of your range, you walk forward, and then I try to walk up and press my button, you can try to stuff it with like a faster button potentially, right? If I just walk back, you may be able to do something like continue walking forward, overshoot where it normally would be, and then tag me with a low drive rush, right? Something like that.
There are a lot of situations where you were catching me with crouching medium kick, and that's where I should hit the faster button. Instead of walking back, just hit that faster button. But that's a little rusty.
Yeah, and it's tough, right? Because I could just as easily not press the button. So I could walk into the range, walk out of it, and then you press the button thinking I'm gonna press, and then I whiff punish you, right? Like that's that's an option. That's a scenario that could happen. It's just a matter of trying to get a sense of how I want to play, like how your opponent. So when I say me, your opponent wants to play neutral here, right? So in this case, I was kind of dancing in out of range and just trying to tag you with buttons as you kind of moved in and out, right? So like you see me like what I try to do here is I try to get you to walk forward, and then I try to walk forward and tag you with something else, right? So here I'm trying to counter poke you basically, right?
And I could have punched here. I could have
5 frame, yeah. So I kind of get away with it there. You go for a jab, I block, but you see the same situation, and then you get it with punish, right? So this was actually pretty well defended, all things considered, right? So like from this situation here, if I let this play out, okay, take a one hit there, right? And then you whiff punish me and you're out of the corner, right? So like corner defense wise, I thought that was pretty well played, right? If you look at how I was trying to keep you in the corner, I was trying to play kind of unfair footsies, if you will, right? Because you can't adjust space anymore. Right. And then you're able to find a situation to land the whiff punish because you don't move, and I whiff, and you're able to get out of the corner. And then you're out of the corner, right? So you defended that well. And I think, like, again, it speaks to, like, I think that the corner defense aspect may not be exactly where you're having those issues, right? It just happens to be that you may lose in the corner, but, like, defending neutral in the corner, I think you did okay, right?
Gotcha.
So you got the bomb on me, right? Plus frames. Get the throw. All right, now I'm in the corner, right? So.
And actually, yeah, and there's another situation where I just gave up Oki.
And then he went for scissors and he gets punished right in the poorly spaced one. So It's tough. Because it's not really an Oki situation for you here. Well, right there it was, right?
Yeah.
So you could have went for a button there. Of course, I'm just blocking, right? And I kind of stand block because every single Bison I ever play against goes for the overhead there.
Overhead, yeah.
Right? So I block high and then I block low, which is wrong. I should be blocking low and blocking high, but whatever. And then you kind of back off here, right? And again, I think you are expecting me to reversal, right?
Yeah.
So instead I go for like a delay jab. And so you drive rush in, right? So my recovery is done. I wait a little bit. And then I press jab. Right? And it whiffs. But I'm able to recover in time before your button, right? It's hard to, it'd be kind of hard to whiff punish jab. But what's going through my head there is that I don't want you to be able to walk up throw or shimmy me there, right? Like I'm not going to tech is what I'm trying to get, right? Either you're going to try to hit me with a button, which I'm going to block, or if you go for some sort of delay option or some sort of shimmy, if I do a delay jab, that's going to be able to stop either of those options, right? So if you look at the situation here, right? So you could either you could button me here, right? I've decided that I'm okay taking another throw. So if you throw me here, it would have worked, or you don't see me tech at all, right? I usually use 2 punches to roll back, so that's just me doing the back tech. So I'm okay taking a throw here, right? You don't do any. You like to not do anything. Instead, you shimmy, right? So that's why I jab here, right? So this is actually a little bit late on my part for the delay jab, right? It should have actually caught you. Like I should have pressed it here. Is when I should have jabbed, and that would have forced you to block, and then now your pressure is done, right? Even though now I get to do something, or at least I can chain into something, gets a little space back, right? The reason I'm bringing that up I'm bringing this up is that's something you can do too, right? So a delay jab can beat a good amount of options coming in this scenario here on your wake up, right? So if they go for wake up button, you'll block it, right? If they go for like a shimmy and you time it correctly, you'll be able to hit them as they're backing up, right? So they won't be able to, you'll stop their pressure, right? You'll lose the throw, but you've already decided to lose the throw, so it's okay, right? And if they do something like a neutral jump or something else, then you'll recover in time to DP or anti-air, right? So like if it was the situation was reversed and it was me drive rushing into you and then I neutral jump and you did a delay jab, you'd recover in time to do the crouching heavy punch, right? So there's a couple of options that you'd be able to stop with delay jab. Right, so something to think about in these situations to kind of see what would happen. Right, it's worth trying, I think. Technically speaking, the delay jab would happen around the same time as the delay tech. So you would just jab 5 to 7 frames after, right? So the same timing as the delay tech, basically. So yeah, and you beat in a couple options, but you are going to lose the throw, right? So it is what it is. Right, so you go for that, and then I punish here, right? Right now I'm out of the corner, right? You go for wake up parry again, even though you've been thrown last time. I respected going for it a second time because that would have worked, right? If I went for button there. Unfortunately, I went for a throw. Is what it is, right? There in the corner here. Now, same situation we were just in. Try to fight your way out, right? And then you get stuffed trying to go for the stand heavy punch, right?
Yeah, that's where that risk stops paying off because I've got you twice with it, and now you're looking for it. So.
Yeah. In this case, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna press. They went for a big button the last 2 times, so I'm gonna press here. I'm okay with getting counter hit here. You probably can't kill me based on the meter situation here, right? Even if you convert this into level 3, and like let's say you did like in my head, I'm like they'd have to do a medium button to stuff this, right? A heavy button would be too slow, so they'd have to do some sort of route from a medium button, probably involve some sort of drive rush option into level 3. You'd probably get me down to about here, right? Something like that, but I won't die to it. And then you're burned out. I have a bunch of meter and I can force a situation potentially, right? So, and again, you've done this twice already, so I kind of just went for it. And then yeah, you get tagged, right? Right, and then that's the end of that. So, again, I think that most of your corner defense is fine when it's neutral like that, right? So like you're stuck in the corner, you're defending against, and you're standing up. I think you're doing okay, right? You are pressing buttons more or less appropriately. There's a situation where you try to exploit more than once, and I caught onto it and beat it, right? Beat that option. But you saw in the previous time you were cornered, you actually fought out pretty well, right? You were able to find a whiff punish, put me into mid screen, and then you actually pushed me into the corner. And the reason you got cornered again is because I did driver's back throw, right? But again, I think corner defense, like in neutral, is not where you're having issues. But I think we'll see in this replay where you are running into some problems, and that happens to be on Oki, right? In those knockdown situations, right? So let's take a look at this one. All right. So I missed my I don't press the right button on the jump. Or whatever. All right. Take fireball. On his footsies. All right. Trying to zone you out a little bit here. All right. Land a fireball. Hooray. Okay. So again, I'm kind of abusing the fact that you're not willing to DI me there. So is what it is. But yeah. All right. Go for that. Plus frames, and I press, and you beat me, right? So I will say that sometimes I'd be willing to check to see if you're trying to enforce those plus frames, so I'll press a button. Since you counter hit me there, I think I stopped doing it here, right? But you may see that happen to you in ranked, where like your plus, they probably know your plus, but they press anyway. Because maybe you're not keeping it airtight.
Plus frames don't exist,
Yeah, frame data is a social construct, right? Like just because you're plus or minus doesn't mean I can't do something, right? Or what's the saying? You're only minus if you're a bitch, right? So that situation there, it's -1, or I forget how minus it. I actually don't remember how minus it. I think it said +1 here, but even so, like the range and all that, like you'd have to press. I don't know if a 4-frame would reach. So I like to press here, right? Get stuffed. I'm a little late, actually. But this would have frame tracked me anyway, right? So, I'm just checking to see what you're going to do there. You do that, so I'm like, okay, I'll stop pressing now, right? But yeah, enforcing this allows you to get the mix-up later. But if you don't enforce it right away and you allow people to test and they get away with it, then it gets harder to enforce that, right? So something to keep in mind. So well-spaced scissor kicks, right? I try to go for a Punisher whiffs. All right. And then there's the walk up that I'm walk up throw. And I'm like, not this time, buddy. And then I go for that, right? The part that makes this really hard right here is that if you're going to go for like this right here, it's difficult to even shimmy me here because I'm going for a low, right? And that's why I elect to go for lows typically on someone's walk up, right? Sometimes I do crouching medium punch if I think they're just going to continue walking forward. But here you're kind of close, right? So I'm like, okay, if they're gonna throw, or like at this point I can still kind of react, right? I'm kind of close, but basically I said that I'm not gonna attack. I'm gonna press a button here, right? Like if you went for a jab, it stops me, right? Like you would have been able to do that, but you had kind of committed to a throw. So here in this situation, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna press a button here and think that they're either gonna throw or shimmy, right? Because that's gonna be both of those options. Because you haven't really been walking up jabbing. At least this is game 3 now, so you haven't really been doing that. You've been doing this walk up throw thing, so that's what happens there, and why it's tough to do this. Because if your opponent starts just doing the wake up or the crouching medium kick instead, you can't shimmy and you can't throw because it'll lose to both of those options, right? So here's probably when you want to start jabbing. If I'm doing this to you consistently, right? So anyway, take a full combo. All right, so defend that well. +3. Don't press, or you press late. Let's see. All right. Yep, you don't elect to press right away. You go for a jab at that point, and it loses to my jab, right? So what happened here, this is something that I think happens to a lot of people in this situation. You just blocked a move after Oki, right? So you're plus, or you should probably know your plus anyway. You've seen this. I'm sure a million Kens have done this setup. Everyone in chat's probably seen this setup too. So, but the overhead is minus safe, but minus for Ken, right? So what can happen here is I'm fully expecting you to press a button, right? I'm blocking. Like I know people press here, but you don't elect to press, right? So in my head, I'm like, okay, I'll press, right? I'll press the button. I'm okay with that, right? So then that's what happens here, right? And then and then I counter hit confirm, right, into some damage, right? So, I think that like in that scenario where you are actually plus, every once I mean I think like I haven't really done that setup to you, but it might be worth challenging at that point, right? I don't know. I mean, pressing a button there. Just to see what I would do, right? Because if you jab there, none of this stuff can happen, right? Or if you press your medium punch there, because you're +3, right? So you could press like a 6 frame, right? I can't do it. And if I try to jab there, like I'll get counter hit, right? So, you can press a 6 frame there and see what happens. At worst, I block a 6 frame move, you get some space back, right? So, now the thing that's crazy is that there are some players out there that will just DP you right there, right? So like this happens, DP, right? Like that can happen. You just kind of have to get a read on the player, right? Like, if you see me play, I generally don't do unsafe stuff from plus frames or minus frames, right? So you can kind of like mentally be like, oh, he's not going to do that because it's high risk, right? But you have to get a sense of how the opponent's playing to make that judgment call. But I think it's okay in a lot of cases, especially at like, higher MR, to just press the button there, right? Most people aren't going to try to DP you there. And if they are going to try to DP you there, then you know what to do from then on. But taking your turn back there, not a bad idea, right? So, right, and then you try to walk up again, right? So here I think this is game 3, right? So I had been kind of opening you up a little bit through game 2. So kind of I think you right here, right? I try to shimmy, but you don't bite. You press the button instead, which is fine. I didn't really wish punish you there. I kind of tried to react instead of just letting it rip. So you block, which is fine. And then you try to walk forward into a crouching medium punch, right?
Yeah, blocking that stand heavy punch spaced out like that. I mean, it's
it's absurd. There. It's absurd, right? This is like so dumb that Ken can do this to you, right? Because like, what do you do here, right? +2, but if I just let it rip a second time, you're gonna get hit, right? Like,
yeah,
it's dumb, but that's unfortunately the Ken gaming, right? So you just kind of have to hold that. The only thing the thing to do note though that you are plus, right? So you're +2 here. So getting a sense of what I want to do after that is probably what you want to start doing. And either you can be aggressive taking your turn, which you kind of do here. It's just that I elect to press sooner than you do, right? So if you walk up jab, would have been fine. But I think you went for a medium button here, which unfortunately gets stuffed, right? All right, another Oki situation here. I go for a setup. Or I fake a setup. Then you tech. Right?
And then I die.
Yeah, then you die. But I didn't show game 2, but what had been happening through game 2 was that I was doing a lot of throws, and then I started shimmying you, right, or neutral jumping you when you started delay teching. The issue is that you don't get off of the delay tech.
I don't stop. I'm like, I'm taking or I'm dying. I'm gonna take this throw or I'm gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah. So and once that starts happening, right? Like I said, one of the things you could rotate your defensive option to is a delay jab, right? So now you've decided that you're okay with losing the throw now, but you're gonna beat a shimmy neutral jump, right? Or not? I mean, you're gonna defend a shimmy, you're gonna beat a neutral jump, right? And you're also gonna be safe to buttons, right? So if you start doing that, right, then this neutral jump doesn't work, right? Right. So if you had delay jabbed instead, let's see if we can do it here. All right.
Oh, I forgot about this.
Yeah, so you can do something like this, right? Right?
Yeah.
So delay jab, right? If you do it correctly, which I'm not quite doing here, right? Something like that, right? And again, you can also elect to do nothing, right? So you can go back to blocking, right? And again, you would be in a favorable situation, right? Right. And so whatever that conversion is, I know Bison has some good stuff off of that, or at the very least, you anti-air me, right?
Yeah.
So something like that, right? If you're noticing me starting to go for these kind of setups into a throw or something else like that, like because that crouching light punch in that situation leaves Ken plus enough where a stand heavy punch is going to be meaty and it's going to be plus, right, for Ken. So and I did that to you the last game where I did that same setup, got plus frames, and then counter hit you, right? I think, but like the thing is, I'm trying to give you a different look and then expecting to delay tech, right? So if you had changed your defensive option to back to defending against shimmy, right, at that point, you would have been able to beat this, right, and survive, right? At least that interaction. Now, how the game goes from there, I'm not, it could be anything, but you won't die, right? So you probably have a better chance of winning if you don't die right away, right? So, but yep. So I noticed you started delay teching, so I just went for neutral jump here, right, and then it kind of ends that round, right? So, went to round 2. Right, so more honest footsies, right? Driver's jab. Right, and then something I did notice was that your anti-airing was not as sharp as it was or has been in the past when I played you. Seemed like you're going for parry a lot, which totally fine. Right? It is what it is. But once your opponent picks up on that, that's when stuff like this will happen, right? So
yeah.
Right, and then I start going for this kind of like fake. Like jab into throw pressure. I don't want to call it tick throw because like Ken's not actually plus here, right? So. Right, Ken's actually minus here.
Really? Okay, that's good.
Right, so when that happens, in order for me to throw you, I have to walk forward. Right, so this is where delayed jab can be very powerful. Right, so a situation like this on Oki, Ken does a jab, or 2 jabs potentially, right, or like a Kami does this a lot too.
Yeah,
you have to take this mix up, right? Even though you're minus, right? There's a mix up here, right? Like they could like after 2 jabs, especially. They'd be spaced out enough to shimmy you. They could continue pressing to frame trap you, right? Or they can go for a throw, right? So like, even though it's minus, like even though Ken's minus here, it's still something you have to guess on, right? Because of the way light chaining works, right? So something like a delayed jab would beat all 3 of these options, right? So I'm just bringing this up a lot because I don't know if you were doing this, right? I didn't really see you do it, so
I don't think I've ever really utilized delayed jab ever. So this is very helpful.
Okay, cool. So again, I didn't see this, and this is a way to beat the things that I was doing to you that I feel like you were having a hard time with, because I feel like, and you can correct me here, but it feels like anytime I was kind of like this, you felt like you had to guess for your life, right?
Yeah,
it was like I'm flipping a coin, and let's just hope I'm right, right? Like here you have to delay tech, right? You delay, and you're correct here. To your credit, you delay tech it, and it's fine. But you would have lost to a shimmy, and you would have lost to me continuing to press lights, right? So like if you look at this situation here, right? Well, delay tech probably would have you would have defended, right? I think, right? So delay tech would have been fine there. Oop. Right. So the shimmy will beat you there, right? And that's why it's kind of a scary thing to try to defend there, because you're either going to take you delay tech, so you're like, okay, I'm not going to take a throw here, but instead you're going to take potentially 6,000 damage, right? Right, or whatever, right? Whatever I end up doing there, probably some sort of 3,000 damage combo, 2,900 damage combo, something like that, right? But if you had delay jab there instead, it would have beaten those options. We can take a look at that in the lab afterwards, but the idea again is that you're able to kind of defend against multiple options in that specific scenario, right? Especially mid screen. So anyway, right. So because this type of thing will happen a lot, right? Like people will knock you down.
I usually don't. I usually do not tech mid screen ever, but because King gets such good Oki off of it, that's like one of my only exceptions.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like the way Ken is built, right, as a character, he uses drive to put you in the corner, right? So like his drive rush, like cancel and all that. Like use 3 bars to put you in the corner. But when a Ken does a throw and they use a bar to get another throw, like I think that's totally fine too, because Ken is using his meter to force you in the corner, right? The result is the same, the bar expenditure is the same, and the damage is probably about the same too. The difference is that I have to guess 3 times to do that, right? Like you have to be willing to take a throw 3 times, right? And in this case you weren't, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, delay teching here, again, I can't fault it. But there are other options is what I'm getting at, right? So again, there's a way to beat this specifically as well, but you know, we can get into that too. But see, delay tech, totally fine. Back to neutral. Okay. Trying to get in on each other. Walk up jab is crushing me, and then I just walk back and react to the throw, right? So I think this was actually not a bad thing to go for here.
Yeah, because I think in game 2 I had shimmied you here in this situation, so that's when I went. That's why I went for the walk up throw there. But yeah, I just got red.
Yeah, at this point I was willing to take a low because I thought you were gonna shimmy or throw me. So even though it's kind of dangerous for me to take that low, it's difficult to not try to throw there, right?
Yeah, I don't hit lows nearly as much as I should. It's kind of a holdover from playing Marissa so much.
Yeah, because it's a
But
bit of a hard read here, right? So like you land
yeah,
this, you have to hard read. I'm gonna back up because I'm actually blocking, right? Or I was blocking. Now I'm just trying to back up. But I could have just easily, you know, crouch blocked and then crouch and then block the low forward into drive rush, and then it's a mix up for you, but at least I block it. But I kind of was like, I think they're gonna go for a throw here, right? It just so happened I would have beaten shimmy as well, right? So if you shimmied there, you wouldn't get anything, right? We reset back to neutral basically, right? I may press a button, but it's pretty unlikely I would react like that. So you would just be, you know, I get away with like there's no, I don't take any further damage, right? Unfortunately, you go for a throw, I react. All right. Then I go for a cheeky setup here, and you reversal finally, right? So this is your first reversal for the whole game, the whole match, I think, like our whole set rather. So I was thinking to myself, and I say this on stream, like, oh, they probably should have done reversals sooner, right? The reason I say that is because if you had done and shown me that you were willing to reversal in the other two sets, I would reconsider this setup, right? I would reconsider my Oki scenario, right? I have to guess a little bit more or be willing to gamble, right? Since you hadn't been reversaling me at all, either level 1, level 3, D-Rev, anything of that nature, you hadn't really been doing it. So I'm like, okay, they're just willing to kind of take whatever pressure I'm going to put there and block, right? Maybe delay tech. So this is good to do this. I do think that you could stand to do this more, is what I'm trying to say, right? I think we tell a lot of players, like as they're coming up to the ranks, that they should be more passive on defense and they should be blocking on wake up and all that stuff. But you're not a new player anymore, right? You're
no.
an MR now, right? So you have to make that defensive decision when you think it's appropriate to do so, right? You actually have to do something there, right? So good decision here, though, right? Went for the reversal. Saw me going for something cheeky potentially. Didn't want none of that. So you're like, all right, I'm gonna reversal, right? So works out. Great. Now we're back to neutral. Go for the reverse. Don't convert, unfortunately.
Yeah, I just messed up there. Ugh.
It's okay. That's part of the game, right? That's why we're doing this. So, all right. Good stuff there. Your mix up here, right? +5. Or is it +2? Went for shimmy, expecting me to reversal, right? And then I just kind of stuff it with a jab, right? And this is actually an instance of an extremely delayed jab, but I just jabbed because I didn't think you were wanting to press, right? So I know you're plus, right? After that, it's your mix up here. I'm actually willing to take a throw if you look at my inputs here. Like I'm not delay teching or doing anything else. You like to do nothing, so then I just jab, right? Like, and this is just a purely a feel thing on my part. I was like, I think I'm gonna jab here. Yeah.
If you had hit crouching medium kick, that would have hit you too.
I
That's
think
what
so.
you did last time. So.
Yeah, I think so. But it's too close for a crouching medium kick, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I like the jab instead, right? So your space here, and I say this in other videos, right? Space kind of dictates what you can and can't do, and this is kind of close for anything other than a 4-frame jab, right? Or I wouldn't want to push anything slower than that if I could. Like if I had a 1-frame button, I would press that here either, right? But like the distance here dictates that you want to press your faster buttons because the range doesn't matter anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I end up counter hitting you out of the stand heavy kick, getting a small conversion off it, right? So like that jab stopped your pressure and got me 16%, right? So it's like you know that's an appropriate, I think, reward for the risk that I took there, which is pretty low, right? But again, if you had pressed something faster there potentially, or pressed sooner, right? Kept that airtight. Went for throw right here, right? Or jab or something.
Something that's not stand heavy kick.
Yeah, something that wasn't a stand heavy kick, right? Because you're shimmying here, right? And again, I totally understand that you're trying to bait me into doing something, but if I'm not taking the bait, then you got to do something else, right? Because shimmy, unfortunately, by itself, doesn't get you anywhere, right? So if you continue shimmying and I'm not delay teching or I'm not doing anything that warrants your shimmy, like I'm not reversaling or anything like that, then you're giving up your damage potential or pressure potential for an option that I'm not choosing, right? So if you have sense your opponent is not choosing that option, you do have to kind of rotate your offense as well, right? So. All right, does really good defense of the drive rush fireball or fireball drive rush, right? So I will say that using meter here may not have been the best option. I guess either way, it's mid-screen. You have some meter to burn. Going for the corner carry is probably fine. I would have said if you had a better route that leaves you decent Oki here, meterless, I'd go for that. But I don't know Bison, so this could be just what you have to do, and that's totally fine, right?
Yeah, that's what you got to do, unfortunately.
Okay, fair enough.
And then then I go for the overhead here.
Finally, right?
Yeah.
And then I just parry a second time, right? So what happened here was that I was kind of guessing that like you're just gonna go for another button after the overhead, right? Because everyone does, right? Plus frames, press again, right? So then I ended up landing the perfect parry, but with the throw, right? So unfortunately, I think what I needed to do here was like a stand heavy punch or crouch heavy punch, something to side switch you here. The throw whiffs, unfortunately, because you spaced because of the spacing, right? So that's on me. I should have recognized it, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna throw here because I wasn't sure. Whiffs, right? So I still have the bomb, and I have to defend the corner. So I do an aggressive option here, parry through that, and then derev as soon as you get close, right? Because I sensed that you were gonna do something. You went for a jab of some kind, right? So. So I did spend a good amount of meter to do this, but to be honest, I didn't want any part of that mix up, whatever it was. No. Right? So, like, nope, gonna get out of here, right? And then I figured I'm gonna play a little bit more footsies here. I have a round lead. I'm low on meter. Health is about the same. I have 3 bars. They have 2 bars. So basically what this means is that either one of us could kill the next hit, right? So I'm like, okay, let me go back to neutral, give myself a chance here, right? Okay, so kind of passive here, throwing fireballs. Kind of trying to see if you're reading my fireball timing to try to get a crusher through, right?
Yeah.
I think you don't elect to do that. Oh, there it is. The OD crusher, right? So safe on block, I can't do anything. So I just like to back up, try to get you walking back. Right, and then you take the shimmy here. Right?
There it is.
So, again, that whole sequence was kind of difficult to navigate. I think you did a really good job, to be honest. You were kind of playing it, you know, the way Bison, you got in with some, even though you're minus here, right? Got in safe, right? Took away my space, right? Try to continue playing footsies, right? Basically, I think this was good because you remove my ability to throw fireballs, right? So now you're like, okay, I'm in a good spot now. I can try to, you know, keep Ken in the corner here and not have to deal with projectiles anymore. Play neutral with, and Bison has some pretty good buttons to do that, right? So, yeah. But then unfortunately right here, right? This is the tick throw situation where I had been throwing you. And then you get shimmied. Right. So another situation where a delayed jab might have been good to get through, you know, as an option. But yeah, it's like any other defensive option, right? You can't just rely on that in particular because eventually your opponent will adapt, right? So,
but it is a good thing to put in.
It's a good thing to put in there, because if you are you're basically OSing against multiple options now, right? So like in this situation right here. Right, so the jab hits you. Right, stops the shimmy. Right. If I had elected to go for more buttons there, you would continue blocking, right? Like delay tech timing. Mm-hmm. So since it's a late jab, you'll block. If I go for any more light string pressure there. Neutral jump, we saw that. You would recover in time to DP, or crouching heavy punch. Yeah, and there's no DP, right? But you'd be able to
DP, unfortunately.
Yeah,
wouldn't that be crazy if Bison had a DP?
Yeah, make his Shadow Rise have a hitbox, right? But you see how like in that scenario, and again, the reason I'm able to shimmy you there is because you hadn't shown me this defensive option yet, right? If I would try to shimmy you and you jab me, and I'm like, oh, well, now they're doing delay jab, so now I have to change my offense to match that if that's something they're doing now, right? But instead you're kind of electing to do delay techs, which means it's kind of, I mean, I don't want to call it a 50-50, but you're defending against certain things and you're going to lose at certain things, right? So it's 50-50 in a sense that either he does it or he doesn't do it, right? Like that's kind of what that is.
I've played this game for like 1,000 hours, and nobody has ever told me, like not even like Shaw or anybody has ever told me to delay jab. Nobody has ever said that.
It's it's something that I think it's something that you wouldn't intuit by yourself, right? Like you wouldn't ever think like if I was playing fighting games, I would never think something like a delayed jab would be as strong as it is, right? Someone had to figure it out and someone had to tell you, right? Something like that, unfortunately. But I'm telling you now, right? So you have it. But again, it's something that I think at higher levels, people are doing, and it's not talked about as much, is that there's a lot of defensive option selects that people are doing, right?
Yeah.
So when you watch like high level play, or like even the higher level players, even in like Fight Rise and other places,
they'll do like the DP option select, and
they're doing option selects stuff, because it defends against multiple options, it reduces your mental stack, right? And it allows you to kind of spend more active brain cycles, if you will, trying to problem solve, right? Because you're like, okay, I've decided I'm going to be okay to option ABC. I'm going to lose to option XYZ. How do I defend against that, right? So it's something you can pepper in. If you find yourself guessing a lot on tick throw situations, right? Or even jab throw situations. Tick throw is a little different, because and the situation I just showed you is a little bit different. So if we look,
because they can stop hitting jab at some point.
Yeah, because they're plus, right? So
yeah,
right, like that situation. So even though I was showing you delay jab against that because that could have beaten that, that's still gonna get thrown in that scenario, right? So I'll set it up in the lab, but a true tick throw situation is a 50-50 there, right? It's a guess situation. Because in a true tick throw situation where the opponent is plus, even if you go for a jab there, it's going to get counter hit, right? Because you're plus, right? So when I talk about delay jab there, I'm really talking about the kind of jab into throw, like jab is minus and they have to walk up. A delayed jab can work in this situation here, but you have to do it really late, right? And again, you're deciding to lose to the throw there, right? Because again, they're 2+ for you to take advantage of a normal delay tech timing. So you'd have to block a little longer, and then guess their shimmying and then jab that, right? Again, a little bit safer than trying delay tech, but that's the guess you have to make, right? In that true tick throw scenario, right? Because again, if they enforce the plus frames with jabs, if you try to delay button there, you're gonna get hit. You may potentially get hit if you do it wrong, if you're not delayed enough. And then again, they can just throw you and it'll beat any sort of mashing that you do, right? So it's an option you have in the corner on Oki sometimes when their setup is not plus, right? I think that's typically when it works. But the thing is, I had been getting you in a lot of situations where I was minus on the jab, but you had to guess, right? And that's where that delay jab option comes into play.
There's a particular character that I think delay jab is going to be like very good for me against, and that's Jury. I think because like for some reason, like Jury just gives me the absolute most trouble in the corner. I don't know why, but like just thinking about how her setups work, like it seems like she's a lot more vulnerable to it than like Ken or Cammy would be.
I think you're right. You just have to make sure that you are delay jabbing against her minus buttons, right?
Yeah.
So like I forget which ones it is, but there are some minus buttons that Like when she has in the corner and she's pressing the pressing a bunch of those medium buttons. You just have to try to delay jab when it's minus, right? So that's something you have to lab out. You know, everyone knows you can find any string from you can find any of Jury strings online or whatever. Ask the Discord for a Jury combo that allows them to get that throw, and then that would be what you would test against, right? But I do think that the situation I was just showing you here, thinking back, looking at it now, since it was plus, I totally forgot that it was a tick throw here. Delay jab will probably lose here, right? If the Ken goes for additional buttons, if you don't delay your jab enough, you'll get hit. And if they throw you, you'll still lose the throw either way, right? So when it is a true tick throw, you do have to guess strike or shimmy, right? So you can go for a parry there, be okay with the throw, if you think they're going to strike, or you can just continue blocking, right? Or you could delay tech like you did, right? That is an option too. It's just that you have to be willing to guess, right? When you're plus like that. But when I was talking, a delay jab will work really well in that jab throw situation where the person jabbing is minus, right? And we saw a situation like that earlier, right? Where on wake up, I timed a jab. It wasn't exactly meaty. I hit you on wake up, sure, but it's not meaty in the sense that it gave me plus frames. So I'm minus, right. So I have to walk up and throw you, right? So that's when you can do something like a delay jab. But yeah, it is an option in the corner. If you're seeing a lot of like mix up after minus buttons, right? Like, because jabs are typically minus, right? So like you have to do 1 or 2 jabs and then force a mix up from there, right? And then defending against that will help a ton. Because like I before I started doing this more, like camis would run over me, right? Like they knock you down once, jab.
Yeah, and then you're done.
And you're dead, right? Like, how am I never right? Right? I'm never right against that. And the way you kind of beat that, if you will, is by starting doing more delay jabs, right? Start changing some of the defensive options, right? So ultimately what will happen is that you start doing that delay jab option and they're going to start countering that, right? So let me see here. Let me just show you what that counter looks like, so that you're ready for it when people start doing it to you. If you start implementing this, right, there's a counter to it, obviously. So let me create a room. All right. I'll invite you to this room.
I gotta hop back on one.
Oh, no worries. Yeah. No worries. Let me.
One second.
No worries. Set this up while we're waiting. All right, so hey there, Rivkia. While we're waiting for a taste to come back, can absolutely help with Jamie. I'm not great at playing Jamie or playing against Jamie, to be honest, but I can probably help out with some stuff if you're interested in that. I'll put some links to the Discords, and I'll give an outro. I'll talk about it then, but take a look at those. Cool. So yeah, if anyone's still watching, we're just kind of waiting for Taste to get back on. They had to do a little Discord shuffle. So that's the way it goes sometimes. So we're just chilling for now. But the situation I'm setting up here is we're talking about delay jab and how we can use that as a defensive option. So. Once they're back, we'll take a look at it. Well, I guess while we're waiting, I got a new hitbox. So yeah, Taste, you're gonna get this in your VOD because oh, are you there? Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Back. All right, cool. All right, cool. So take a look at if you see my screen here, basically what Ken is doing here is he's doing a 5-frame delay on a crouching light punch, right? So if I do a jab, right, they're gonna delay by about 5 frames and then jab, right? So where this happens is if I do a single jab, so let's say like this scenario, right? Oh, he's blocking, but let's say I knock you down and I do this, right? Jab. Right. So from there, what I was doing to you during our game was if I turn this off, I was do something like this, right? Or I would do something like this, right? Or it'd be something like this, right? Right? Because if you do that, right, and you go for a delay tech here, right, 5-frame delay on the throw, right? So, right, right. So that loses to that, right? If you delay tech, right, the string, right, you'd still block that, and you'd tech this throw, right? But you would lose to shimmy, right? So instead, what you can do is delay jab, right? So you 5-frame delay. So you get knocked down. On wake up, I jab you. Go for throw. I get counter hit, right? Counter hit, combo into whatever, right? I think this works best with a 4-framer. I think Bison does have a 4-frame jab, right? So you can do that.
Yep. He's got 2 actually.
Cool. So either option, right, would work. If I go for more light pressure, you block it all out, right? Obviously, the computer here is jabbing at the end of it. You wouldn't necessarily do that, but just because this is the way it blocks. And you'd also beat a shimmy, right? So if I do this, you force me to block, right? So now my pressure is stopped, and there's no more mix-up, right? So like, I can't do anything now, right? Like this jab, completely pointless. I can't mix you up anymore because you're defending against it, right? The issue is that there's a very specific counter to this, and that's a delay. That is a built-in delay button. So if I see you doing this a lot, I'll do something like this instead, right? Like it would be like that jab into like a 6-frame button. And then I would get a conversion from there, a counter hit, right? Counter hit medium button.
Yeah, or like Cammy would do that and then crouching medium punch.
Yeah,
and that happens
exactly,
all
right?
the time.
All the time, right? Or they convert into drive rush, right? So, right, whatever, right? So the reason that works is if you look at the frame data here, right? There's a huge gap, right? That's when you would like in this situation here. If you're looking at the frame meter, you would press your jab about here, right? Like here or here, somewhere in this range here, right? And then if you look at the frame meter, like my hitbox will come out as you're starting, during the startup, right? So that would be the counter to that, right? If like you start delay jabbing and then they start countering you with this, that's what they're gonna do. Is they're gonna do some sort of built-in delay. Now to stop that, right? You would just mash, right? So if I did something like this. So if I do this now, right? Oh, no delay. So we want just jab. Right? So you see my inputs there was the same thing, except now you are interrupting my startup, right? So, but again, mash does lose to that, right? So this is what I'm saying when you're there's counters to everything, and you have to just be willing to roll the dice a little bit. But basically,
you gotta decide what you're gonna lose to.
Yeah, exactly, right. Basically, what's happening in a lot of these scenarios, like especially in like the mix-up situation, is that players are picking an option select, or they are defending or attacking an option select, right? So I'm guessing you're going to OS me here, so I need to beat your OS, right? Alternatively, you could just go for the hard read, right? So parry, right, or something else. Which if you have a read on me as the offensive player, can work really well. But you can also go for these sort of option selects that allow you to defend multiple options. And then from there, you can make a decision, right? So like if I'm Ken here, right, and I'm going for this and I see you mashing, right, like, oh, they just pressed it, right? I can start doing this stuff, right? But then, the next time that happens, you know, you may change it up, right? And now I'm trying to guess you're going to do something else, right? And that's offense in Street Fighter 6, right? It's a lot of that, a lot of that situation. It's just that I think that if you have more defensive options to choose from, you're more likely to throw the scissors to their paper, right? Like, if that makes sense, right? Because like once you're in this situation here where there's actually like plus and minus frames, you know, it's all oki at that point, right? There's no neutral anymore. It's just a mix up. So you have to be willing, you have to try to cover as many, you know, try to cover options, be okay with losing other options, right? And then being decisive, right? So like going for your reversal there, right? Because this will lose a reversal too, right? So if I do that, like, and they decide to just DP me, right? Like it'll lose to that, right? So like there are other options that exist out there. I think what happens a lot is at the beginning anyway, you're trying to get a sense of like how your opponent wants to play the game. Right, and then from there you can kind of get a sense of like what defensive options do they like, what defensive options do they not choose that often, what are they currently doing and refusing to not do anything else of, right? Like that's how you kind of build your offense around that. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that helps out. You have an extra kind of thing to do, right? Thing in the back pocket to try to experiment with and see
that was tremendously helpful. Like that's the most helpful advice I've got in a very long time. So.
Well, I'm glad I was able to help. But yeah, again, it is something that I think is not talked about enough, is like defensive option selects and what like players are doing, right? Because when you play against higher level players, they're doing this, right? They're doing everything here, or they're just blocking. They could also be hard read the same way, right?
Yeah, like when you play against like an 1900 MR player, you're like, how the hell do I open this person up? You know?
Like you're like, oh, I landed this jab and I can never get them open. I can never get a throw, whatever. That's what they're doing, is their option select against you, right? It's like when you first start playing and you first hear about delay tech and like, oh man, this is awesome. Like no one can beat me right now. I never get thrown. I'm blocking everything. It's always cool. And then you run into somebody who can beat that option. It's like, oh crap, this is terrible, right? Same idea. It's a defensive decision that you have to make. You have to be willing to make the guess and be willing to live with the consequences, right? You're like, okay, well, I'm going to get shimmied here, but I don't want to take a throw in this situation because I might die, or I don't want to get throw looped or whatever, right? So you make a defensive decision and it ends up being whatever it ends up being. So cool. All right, man, cool. So I think that was kind of the two things you wanted to talk about, right? And the closing out games, I think, is just a matter of some lab work.
Execution. It's just execution, right? Just execution.
You landed the necessary hits to beat me. It's just couldn't close it out. But that, again, execution. Like, there's no other, not doing anything else wrong, right? You landed the hits, like all you know the routes. It's just a matter of practice, right? So it's not a huge deal. And again, your corner defense in terms of playing neutral in the corner, I think, is fine, right? You're able to get out of the corner a couple of times and put me in the corner, right, and fight your way out, like in a kind of stable manner, if you will, right? Playing disadvantaged footsies, right, because they can't control space anymore. But you did a good job, right? You're able to get out of the corner more often than not. But where I was really beating you was I would win one or two interactions in neutral, and then you would take way too much damage in those Oki scenarios, right? So, yeah. But yeah, just trying to rotate defensive options and trying to. And you hit the nail on your head earlier, right? It's like, oh, the way I run my offense, and you were saying this, the way you run your offense is I try to do what they're not expecting, right? Defense should be more or less the same way. I'm going to decide I'm okay with losing to option X. Let me defend against everything else, right? And do as best I can. Whether that be through an option select or some other thing that beats multiple things, whatever the case may be, I just have to be okay with that. So, cool, man. Anything else you can think of?
No, that pretty much covers everything.
Yeah, you got time to run it back, or I know it's kind of late in the East Coast, but do
you want to run it back? I got time to run it back.
Cool.
What's the password?
It's 1313.
Use an invite.
I said invite. Yeah. So leave the mics hot for this one. So we'll just run it back. Just consider what I was talking about. I don't expect you to get it right or perfect right away without any practice at all, but it's worth trying and see what would happen. But just remember what I was talking about. Just be careful in those kind of mix-up situations and be willing to make defensive decisions. Right?
Yeah, it's always rough whenever you first start trying to work in something new.
Yeah. Use a lot of brain power. Oh, nice. Oh, nice. Nice. Ah!
Shit.
Oh, nice. Oh, I'm dead, right?
No, fuck! Oh my god. That was it.
You had me.
That
You
was
had me. You had
it.
me. Should have been.
Uh,
Street Fighter 6, guys. Nice parry. Oh, I tried to stuff that. Nice. That was it.
shit.
Oh no! I hate this game. Oh, okay, got away with one, got away with one. But that was pretty good though. You saw how like you didn't really have to think too much about the mix-up after that jab. You just kind of went for it and like it stuffed it, right? It stopped what I was doing. Nice.
Nope. Oh, I should hit crushing.
Nice.
That was way too much stride meter.
Oh no. Oh, I was so close to burning you out. Oh shit. Oh, that was nice. That was nice. I almost pressed there. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh!
That was just unfortunate. That would have worked. Nice. Oh shit. Nice tech. Oh.
Ah, that was what I should have hit crouching. Medium kick or something.
Nice. Oh, my face.
No. That was so bad. That was literally the worst time to tech ever.
It's so hard to not tech in that situation.
No
right?
drive meter. Yeah.
I think it was a fine option. I could have went for like a something aggressive there, or like pressed a button.
Yeah, I mean, if I blocked there, I was dead.
Yeah, I could have done like a run DP or something. So. Nice. Oh, damn it. I thought that was... Oh my god. This is not good. Oh, shh. Oh!
Oh.
That worked. I was trying to super it. Oh, man. That's unfortunate. Oh, shit. Oh, it's gonna hurt. Oh, no. That was it. Oh, nice scissors. Oh, man. Oh, that was a mistake. Oh, I'm totally dead here, right?
No, you're not dead. There's
No
too
way.
much
This is a
scaling.
kill?
Oh no.
Absolutely no reason for me not to go for it there, but...
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So that was a good round for you, or a good game for you, I think. You were able to kind of whiff punish me a good amount in neutral, and then your Oki was better in that one, right? You went for it more. You were not like defending, playing around the reversal, and you saw the result of that, right? Is that able to convert a lot more damage. Ooh.
Oh shit, that was supposed to be jab.
Oh. Nice reversal. Oh, shit. Oh, crap. Nice.
No!
Oh, no.
Oh, the choke.
That's twice.
Twice.
But I mean, that's how it goes. But the point was you would have had me, though, right? I think you can take that away from that. These training sessions here. Execution is... You can work on that in the lab, right? Hmm? Oh. Nice.
That was so bad, though. I shouldn't have burnt myself out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to super there because the Jinrai is now -3 instead of -7. So ends up being reversal safe. But otherwise, though, I think that those rounds went a lot better for you because you were willing to continue your pressure in the knockdown situation, right? So you saw what happened to me there was if I have to now deal with your pressure, I'm more likely to make a mistake that you're able to capitalize on, right?
Yeah.
And you've kind of forced, the more you force those mix-ups, the more I have to guess, and the more I have to guess, the more I'm likely to be wrong, right, on defense, right? So that helped out
Just
a ton.
gotta
Yeah.
not drop.
Yeah, not drop, right? I mean, that's goes without saying, and that's how it is, right? But if you consider what had happened during those games minus the drop, you win those rounds, right? No question, right? You convert, totally wins, right? I think you tried to do the defensive option a couple times. I saw it, and it worked, right? You saw what happened was I went for some sort of jab throw or jab back up, jab shimmy, and you're able to beat all of those options, right? I didn't do any jumps necessarily, but you would have been able to recover and crouching heavy punch me there, right? Anti-enemy. So, but you can see what happened though, right? Was that once you started defending that properly, now I have to change up what I'm doing, right? I have to do some other offensive option, Then from there, you know, it's continuing that, right? Continuing to make adjustments to each other until hopefully you come out on top, right?
Yeah.
So, because yeah, you totally had me in those neutral situations, right? You're able to whiff punish me effectively with stand heavy punch, right? And then once you started kind of just running your offense, right? It was pretty good, right? Like a lot of the setups and offense that you're able to run, the plus streams you're able to generate, worked wonderfully, right? You know, a couple of drops here and there, you can deal with that. And then a lot of the, again, like the Oki situations that you were in defensively, it felt like you were able to defend that a little better because you're like, okay, I have a defensive option that I can rotate through. I don't always have to delay tech. I can do something else. And that forced me to change what I was doing, right? So, cool, man. Yeah. Any other questions or anything before we wrap up?
No, no. This is a really good training session, really helpful and everything.
Cool, man. Yeah, I know it's a little late, so I'll let you take off. You don't have to stick around. I'm just gonna do the outro real quick and all that. So thanks, man. Hope you had a good night.
All right, have a good one, Jesse.
Thanks. Well, guys, so this has been Sit Down and Shut Up with Juzzy's training session run by me, a 1600 MR Ken player. I run this through the Fight Rise Discord, so links to, I'll put another, it's in the chat for the Discords. I run this through Fight Rise Discord, so Fight Rise is a fighting game community, mostly around Street Fighter 6. They run bi-weekly tournaments through their One Fight Stand series, right? So if you're looking for tournaments to play, they do a Swiss pool of like 7 rounds for master ranked players, and if you're below master, you want to get some tournament sets. They do a round robin pool for their below master rank, right? So all levels are invited. You'll get some good games and all that. They also do community showcase events through their Urge to Fight series. So if you wanted to take a look at that, again, in the Fight Rise FGC Twitch channel, you could take a look at some of the past episodes they've done. Showcases of folks in the community, sometimes doing charity events as well, raising money for various causes. So yeah, and if you want a session like this for yourself, please join the Fight Rise Discord. Look for a channel called Sit Down and Shut Up. It'll have pinned messages on how to join this and, you know, all the information you need to have a session like this. I'm also part of the Newbie Fight Club. So Newbie Fight Club is another fighting game community that is focused on helping new players get into the game for Street Fighter 6. They also do other fighting games like Virtual Fighter 5 that's coming out, Virtual Fighter 6 coming out, and other fighting games as well. They do lobby nights every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if you're a newer player looking to get into the game, you can, you know, join the Newbie Fight Club Discord and look for games there. Look for lobby nights, or you can, and either of these Discords do matchmaking throughout the day. So if you are looking for games at all skill levels, right, you can find somebody that's willing to play you or wants to play you or whatever, and all that. So. All right, so thanks again for watching, everyone that stuck around. I know I don't talk too much, I don't interact with chat a lot as I'm focused on the individual that I'm helping, so all your messages and likes and whatever else I'm supposed to say here, follows and subs or whatever on Twitch, really means a lot. Thank you so much, appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys hanging out for that, and have a good night.